everyone. So this is going to be about another state that was significant to me, and this is the state of Wisconsin, America's dairyland, appropriately named for many obvious reasons. This state was special to me mostly because that's where I went to grad school, the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. Now, I may or may not have chosen this home campus because of the Packers. I don't know, neither will you. It's a mystery, but it's certainly possible. It's also important because of graduation. It's where I reunited with my parents after 6 months of living in Seattle, where I did my master's capstone project. So I didn't even expect my parents would be ending up in Green Bay. Between my brother and I, we're just sending our parents to these random places in the Midwest. He goes to school in Missouri. But Wisconsin is something. I've been there a couple of times. First is when I took this crazy bus trip across the Midwest. The second was for graduation. I'm definitely going to go back there again though. This is by far not the last time. But let's start with the first trip, where I didn't really know what to expect from Wisconsin or the Midwest in general. I've never been there before. I've only flown over it, just looked very flat, a lot of plains. Took a bus from Chicago up to Green Bay, so you're on 94 North, you're not far from the Wisconsin border at all, and you cross over, you go to this town called Pleasant Prairie. That's where you start seeing prairies and these grasslands that just go on for miles. You can look down a side street and see like miles ahead. Some people would call this boring, but I don't think it's boring. The point of doing all this, the point of doing something like taking a bus across the Midwest, it doesn't sound very exciting, but the point of traveling is to see something different, to be in an environment and experience an environment that you are not used to, that is different from your own. And automatically right away you can tell this is America's dairyland. Now people from New Jersey will understand this, people from Pennsylvania too. You know when you cross the border into Pennsylvania and you see like a dozen fireworks ads in the first mile of crossing the border? It's the same thing here except with cheese advertisements. There were just so many billboards. We actually passed a barn that was covered in banners that just had cheese written all over it. But seriously, Wisconsin is the leading cheese producer in the United States. As of 2018, in that year it produced like almost 3 billion pounds of cheese. That's like 30% of the United States cheese production. So that's not even a joke, it's something that's taken very seriously, responsible for a lot of employment and industry in Wisconsin. So it took about 3 hours to get to Green Bay from Chicago, took a small rest in Milwaukee. I got to see the City Hall building from the opening shot of Laverne and Shirley. Now nobody wanted to reenact the opening theme with me, but I also didn't ask, but that would have been a good idea. But around here you got cities like Kenosha, Sheboygan. I'm really just looking for an excuse to say Sheboygan more. Got to Green Bay, got to visit my college, and after exploring the underground tunnels under campus, I went to the Arboretum just across the street across Nicollet Drive. Now the Arboretum is on Green Bay, but it was March so the bay was frozen. It wasn't very green, though it is green at some times of the year. I did feel like the bay had to be frozen though in order to make it feel more authentic, like I was in Wisconsin, so that did kind of help. It was just cool driving over the Fox River on the Mason Street Bridge and seeing Lambeau Field in the background. It was much more prominent than I thought it would be. Honestly, I didn't do a whole lot on this first trip. It was a day trip, but the second time was the real Wisconsin experience. I saw a good amount of the state driving from Minnesota through La Crosse and eastward toward Green Bay. Took I-90 over the Black River, that's when you get to La Crosse and you're in Wisconsin. But there was like nothing past La Crosse. This is where you get into the real rural territory. It's very flat again and you're on these one-lane highways. So if you're kind of stuck behind a truck, what you have to do is you have to pass them on the opposing side of traffic. Not really a problem, because in many parts it is flat enough that you can see like 2-3 miles ahead. You can just pass them with no problem. The day before graduation, also, we met with our professors for drinks, and I asked them, hey, there aren't any highways that connect La Crosse to Green Bay, are there? And they just laughed at me. They laughed and they said, like, you were on the highways. It was just unbelievable. These one-way highways that I've just described to you are highways. And I'm just thinking, no way is that possible. But then again, you're in Wisconsin. You need to understand that that's how that works here. I really needed to hear that. These highways also didn't have any numbers. They were lettered like Road A, Highway A or something, Highway B. I was just on them for 2.5 hours from the beginning of Wisconsin up to Green Bay before I hit another highway. I was just so happy to eventually hit an actual highway and be driving on a highway speed limit. Western Wisconsin, though, that was just one of those haunting experiences in these empty places. Even in the day, I can't imagine driving there at night. No highway exits. These quote-unquote highways turn into main roads of a town, these busy streets in a town. I'm using a lot of air quotes here because it would be a busy street, even though that's not really what I saw. But really, just a great feeling to get off of that, though it was really interesting to see. But a good feeling to eventually be on the highway. We were mostly there for graduation, but we did some touristy things. First of all, we saw Lambeau Field, which is something that a lot of NFL fans, whether you like the Packers or not, you should go there. Lambeau Field is home of the Green Bay Packers. You know, usually NFL teams are named after, like, big cities and state capitals, but Green Bay is like an entirely random city just in the middle of somewhere Wisconsin, and they have an NFL team. But back in the day, you have to remember that that's pretty much what it was like. The bigger cities, Green Bay was a bigger city at the time. It wasn't just the major cities. Really just a great experience to see that field, this very historic place, going onto the field, walking through the tunnel, the same footsteps as Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. They wouldn't let us try a Lambeau leap, though. I don't know if I could have done it if they did. The wall's like maybe 7 feet high at most. But yeah, the tour guide was like, hey, do y'all know what a Lambeau leap is? Because forget about it. But it's true, the Packers haven't been doing well lately, but the history of the team, the history of the stadium, and what it means to the NFL, that's all undeniable and it speaks for itself. Remember who the Lombardi Trophy is named after. And that's also kind of why they call Green Bay Titletown. That's exactly why it's called Titletown, because of all the Lombardi Trophies, the Super Bowls that they've won in the past. Not the most, but I guess significant enough to nickname your town that. Just looking around the field, though, I just can't imagine sitting on those metal benches in the Wisconsin winter. You gotta bring, like, cardboard or a pillow or something if you ever go to a game there. Finally, fun fact about Lambeau Field is that the capacity of it is about 80,000 just with seating. However, the population of Green Bay is just over 100,000. So if you put up a bunch of chairs on the field and you use a lot of extra space, you can pretty much fit the entire population of Green Bay inside of Lambeau Field. And I'm thinking if they wanted to kind of mess with people, the city can just disappear for however long and just kind of mess with people. They can all fit inside Lambeau Field and hide there if they stay real quiet. As for places to eat, I went to several. Glass Nickel Pizza Company on Dousman Street. I went there with my friend on the first night. After the stadium tour, my parents and I obviously went to Titletown. It's a great place where you can get cheese curds and things of that nature. Cheese curds are a staple food of Wisconsin. You gotta try it when you're there. Went to Badger State Brewing Company. That's where we went with our professors on the night before graduation. So when you're in Wisconsin, you're gonna wanna have those cheese curds, but you're also gonna wanna try local Wisconsin brews. If Wisconsin is known for anything past cheese, which it is, you're gonna wanna try the local brews. Spotted Cow is personally my favorite. In general, there is a lot to Wisconsin from an outsider's perspective. You do have some urban areas. You have a lot of rural space, mostly, but from the prairies to the hills in the west, which then turn into these flat, just areas that go on for miles, it's just a really cool thing to experience. You get to Route 41 and 43, you start seeing a lot of the bigger cities. There's a lot to see here, even if you're just passing through or if you want to settle down. Now, if you are settling down and you're going to Green Bay, remember that Packers tickets can be like $60, but a stadium tour can be $15 at the lowest price. So if they're not even playing, if they're not even in town, and there are stadium tours going on, $15 each. You get to go through the tunnels, you get to go on the field if the conditions allow you to. A really great experience, a really good thing to think about. Thanks for watching as always. Look out for more Wisconsin videos, probably when football season starts and I get to go out to Lambeau Field. I'll talk about seeing a game there. And of course, go to Green Bay if you get a chance. Thank you again.